And so essentially you got Glacier National Park at the top there, the Blackfeet Res. You got the Hungry Horse Reservoir. You go clear down through Sealy and down around Lincoln and around the Rocky Mountain front. And it contains all the Great Bear and the Bob Marshall and the Scapegoat Wilderness areas. And if you look at that map, and you'll get a chance to look at it later, there's a lot of overlap on it, a lot of things that are happening in there. But it really points to the fact that practicing and managing fire for benefit is not theoretical. We've been doing it for a good solid 20 years, and we actually started earlier than that. Back in '72, the Salway Bitterroot had the first PNF. The Bob Marshall Complex followed with two more plans, 81 and 83 plans that allowed us to manage fires. And we had our first fire events in the Scapegoat, the Cigarette Rock and Scarlet Fire in 81 and 84. But more importantly, what's been going on since we've started managing fire for benefit is that we're starting to see second and third entry fires. A lot of them. We have more than 3 dozen represented just in this Bob Marshall complex and adjoining lands where we're seeing that benefit. And I think when you think about the Bob Marshall complex, you can consider that we're at this great intersection where we can feel like in the Bob Marshall we're already there, yet we're not quite yet. And what I mean by that is that when we started off on our fire benefit, whether it was PNF or wildland fire use, we were focused on ecological conditions. We were talking about allowing natural processes in wilderness. Yet there's more and a better and greater connection that we need to make. And that's what the Joint Fire Science Program has been trying to do. We're looking at making a better and greater connection between social ecological conditions and how that might benefit people. And I think that we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that we can manage fires for benefit, not only today, but for next year and for the coming decades. Because like Bill mentioned, we're building on things that have been left here from prior managers. And our goal is to leave something for the future managers. So the title of my talk said, Why I Do What I Do. But really it's about why we do what we do. We do what we do because we're trying to reduce the risk of major mega fire events into the future. We do what we do because we want to manage the exposure of fire personnel. Because when we have strategies that are long-term, they lead to tactics on the ground that don't overexpose people to unnecessary risk. And individuals take actions that are responsible for themselves. And we have far fewer fatalities. From 1990 through 2050, Wildfire Today reported that there were 452 fatalities in wildfires. Those were all suppression events. Not one of them has occurred on a wildland fire managed for benefit. Whether you go back to PNFs or wildland fire use, that says a lot about what we're doing when it comes to those strategies. Why are we doing what we do? Because we're managing smoke for the benefit of the public. We have things like second and third entry fires. One of the best ones we had was the Red Shale Fire, 13,000 acres in 2013. 98% of that was within the prior 1988 Gates Park fire. Our smoke monitoring barely showed a blip in the micrograms per cubic meter when it came to particulates in the air. Most people didn't even know we were managing a fire because there was that much little, or that little, smoke output. And the same thing goes with our prescribed fire. We have one major prescribed fire that we did down in the Scapegoat Wilderness, 16,000 acres. Took 3 phases. One of them we were able to do smoke monitoring, and again, barely a little blip in micrograms. Never even came close to touching unhealthy particulates in the air. Why are we doing what we do? Because we're managing water for the benefit of the public. You know, you've often heard that in the last year and a half, I would say, that water is life. And if water is life, then I would say soil is the medium of life. And those two things together produce the vegetation that I would say is more than merely fuel. And we'll hear from Deb Dumrose and others about how that vegetation is the organic matter that gets into the soil that helps increase soil water capacity. And what greater thing for us to be considering in this age of climate change. We're getting less snow. What snow we do get is getting less water content, and we're getting way earlier runoff. So we're looking to benefit the public, and what better than to do regarding customer service. Customer service to me is about managing wildland fire for the benefit of the public. It's very much our motto in this outfit, caring for the land and serving people. I mean, when you consider the fact that 70% of our water comes from the headwaters, the National Forest System lands, it's important to municipalities, to irrigation districts, to canal companies. Well, we do NRCS snow surveys back in the bog, the end of February, March, and April, and we report that data to them. And they don't just use it for stream flow on the Rocky Mountain front. They get that information clear down to the Mississippi Delta so that barges can plan their navigation up the river to service and provide services to nearly 100,000 to 1 million people. So it's not just about this place, it's about something much bigger. And not only that, but why do we do what we do? Because we're improving forest conditions. When you look at this, and you look at places like the Sun River Valley, North Fork, South Fork, West Fork, you're starting to see, as well as with the Flathead River Valley, you're starting to see a diversity in vegetation type and age classes of that vegetation type. It's making a difference in how water is not only being stored, but how it's flowing off. We don't have mega fires replacing age-old stands of timber down to young growth that merely experiences runoff at the same capacity. We're seeing a diversity in how that snow is settling and melting. And we get lots of Chinooks. We get also Februarys that are averaging 0 degrees temperatures. So that makes a huge difference. So if you bear with me, why do we do what we do? Because we're trying to produce and provide resilience for fire management into the future. And we're trying to do that now, not only for today, but for future generations. And when I think about that, I think about the Forest Service mission to sustain the health and diversity and productivity of the nation's forest and grasslands to meet the needs of present and future generations. We're doing it. And we need to be able to tell that story that we're doing it. And that's why it's so important we're all here, so that we can help take a look at the social ecological connection to people, so that they understand the benefits and the story about smoke management, about water management, about organic matter going back into the soil, about resilience, about addressing climate change. And that's why I'm so thrilled to be here today. I'm always thrilled to be here, but to be here among you guys and for the discussions and talks we're going to have today, it's going to make a big difference in helping us tell our story of why. Because that's what people need to know, and that's how we're going to keep moving onward. Because we've got a lot of places where the why isn't happening. And we have a great place here that I'd like to see a lot more science applied on a large landscape level to help us get there. So thank you for making it. I appreciate it.